Today we'll start with a new chapter of biology, that is diseases, cause and control, from the ninth standard biology, concise biology textbook. Now, first of all, before we start, we need to understand what is the meaning of disease. So, what exactly do we mean by a disease? So, whenever any person is not having or having some abnormalities in his body, so he is not having a normal healthy life, he is not behaving, is not having some maybe a structural problem or a functional disorder, but if he is having any kind of an abnormality against the normal functioning, then we can say that that person is suffering from a disease. So what we see is that the term disease is condition in which normal functioning of the body is disturbed. Okay, so when the normal functioning of the body is disturbed, we say that the body is suffering from a disease. Many times such conditions are not very serious and get cured, but sometimes they become serious and even fatal. So that's why many times the diseases are very short duration, very small thing, and it is just a small disturbance and it can be cured easily. But there are certain diseases which cannot be cured, and then it could be so serious that it can even become fatal. So accordingly, we see that the definition of disease can be given as disease is a departure from normal health through structural or functional disorder of the body. So when you are having a structural or a functional disorder of the body, then that particular condition of the body is said to be having a disease. So departure of normal health through structural or functional disorder. Early men looked at diseases as an act of God or evil spirits. He used magical methods and sorcery for the treatment of the disease. So yeah, पहले तो बहुत ऑर्थोडॉक्स माइंडेड और सुपरस्टिशियस माइंडेड थे, तो कुछ भी हुआ तो अरे ये तो भगवान का ये है, श्राप है, and whatever things are there. So yeah, it was much more superstitious based. So initially it was this way, but today science looks at every disease to be a condition which has a definite cause, and thereby making it possible to prevent it or cure it. To make people conscious about being healthy and disease free, we celebrate World Health Day on April 7th. Okay, so every April 7th is divided as the World Health Day, that is for the awareness of the different diseases and the awareness for being healthy always. So that's why today we are seeing that the science is considering each and every disease as a not an act of God, but it is some kind of a problem which is caused. There is some cause for that thing to happen, and we try to cure that particular cause of that disease. So accordingly, disease can be categorized. Firstly, the disease can be categorized based on this the kind of example based on extent of occurrence. So we can identify, we can categorize the disease on four categories. So there are four categories in which the disease can be identified or can be categorized as. First is extent of occurrence, whether it's an endemic, epidemic, pandemic, or sporadic. We'll understand what are these in the later part. Communicability, whether infectious, that is caused due to germs, or non-infectious due to body's own poor functioning. So whether it is infectious, whether it is going to be from passing from one person to another person due to contact, or is it just because the body itself is not efficient enough to handle that particular thing and hence caused the disease. So that is about the communicability. The next is kinds of pathogens. So whether bacterial, viral, or some kind of a germ. So what is the kind of the disease which is causing virus, or whether it's a virus or whether it's a bacteria or a germ. So it we are categorizing as the kind of pathogens which are causing those diseases. And finally, kinds of transmitting agents. So what are the different vectors, what are the different things which are going to carry that particular disease from one point to another point. So whether waterborne or airborne or the fruitborne or insectborne is going to be the type of the movement, or we can say the transmitting agent for that disease. So we now understand each of this category one by one. So first category was on the extent of occurrence. First is endemic. When the disease is found in a certain area only, attacking a few number of people, that is like yellow fever in certain African countries, goiter in sub-Himalayan ranges, so that is endemic, means it is only in that particular region, that particular small section of the country or maybe this of the world wherein this particular kind of disease is available. So in that is endemic. Endemic means in a small area only. Next is epidemic. When the disease breaks out and spreads from place to place, affecting large number of people at the same time. Plague in India in 1994 from Surat to many other places. So that is like epidemic. Epidemic means it is spreading in a large area one by one. If it is spreading in a large area, then we call it as an epidemic affecting a large number of people. And pandemic, when disease is widely spread worldwide. If it is worldwide, yeah, that is what is coronavirus. Coronavirus is worldwide, so it's a pandemic. So that's why they have identified coronavirus as a pandemic. Like AIDS. AIDS is a pandemic. Pandemic is which is spreading across the whole, not only the country but the whole world. So if it is spreading across the whole world, then we call that disease as a pandemic disease. So that's AIDS is the example they are given here, but yeah, you know that the best example now it's coronavirus. COVID-19, yeah. Sporadic, even when there are scattered individual cases of diseases. So sporadic, very small, okay. किसी को यहाँ पे 2-3 दिन को इधर कुछ हुआ है इधर पे, very small cases here and there, but throughout the world. But it is there only in certain people over there. Then it is a sporadic, means spread in a small individual cases. So when it is scattered individual cases, then it is sporadic, like malaria and cholera. Next is category of disease based on the communicability, means how they are going to be transmitted from one person to another person. So depending upon the communicability, that is how it is transferred from one person to another person, we have got it as communicability point of view. So we have disease can also be classified into two major categories: non-communicable and communicable. So non-communicable or non-infectious disease. In these diseases, there is no germ of any kind and they cannot spread from one patient to another patient by contact or by any other method. They are non-transferable. For example, diabetes, color blindness, heart attack, beriberi, etc. So whenever any disease is such that it is not having any kind of a germ or any kind of a pathogen which is transmitting it from one body to another body, but it is the ailment of the body itself, then that particular kind of disease is a non-infectious or non-contagious diseases. This is a disease which will not spread. So like for example, if I am suffering from let's say thyroid, so if I am having hypothyroidism, then automatically if somebody sitting next to me cannot have any problem of that thing, because it is not going to be transferred from one person to another. If I am suppose I am affected by diabetes, then the person who is next to me, or even who is continuously being with me, or the students who are with me, they can never contract diabetes because of me, because it is not a communicable disease. So diabetes, color blindness, heart attack, beriberi are such kind of diseases which are non-transmittable. They are not going to be transmitted from one person to another person. Whereas communicable or infectious disease, they are caused by some germs. The germs somehow must reach a new healthy person before he can suffer from the disease. The cause of the disease is called pathogen, and its transmission from one person to another is called infection. So here what is going to happen, that a person is infected, and when so he has got that particular pathogens present in them. Those pathogens are those particular disease causing germs which are present in the body, and there would be some kind of a medium through which that pathogens are going to be transmitted from one person to another person, and when that transmission takes place, it is called as infection. So an infectious person disease cause usually do not appear immediately after the infection, but may take some time, varying from a few hours or a few days. This period is called as incubation period. Common examples are cholera, smallpox, malaria, etc. So whenever there is this kind of an infectious disease which is being caused, now infectious disease will always require some time to show up in their method of transmission. So it will be that even if I contact a particular pathogen in my body today, it is not necessary that within hours I'm going to feel the effect of that pathogen in my body. It will need some time to enter into my body and start affecting me. So that time period which the pathogen is going to take to show the results or show the symptoms in me of that infection is called as the incubation period of that particular disease. So till the time the person will not even come to know that he has been infected by that particular pathogen. So that is called as an incubation period, and the common examples over here will be cholera, smallpox, malaria, etc. Even corona, yes, coronavirus is the infectious one which has got its own incubation period too. Next is non-infectious disease. So which is, there are certain kind of disease which are non-infectious. So we will see now the part. So we had got the two kinds of disease: non-communicable or non-infectious and infectious. So in the non-infectious, what are the kind of diseases which are there? So it is not in syllabus as such, but just for a general idea you can have it. Given below the specified simplified classification of non-infectious diseases with some common example: nutritional deficiency, beriberi, scurvy, goiter, kwashiorkor, night blindness, etc. So when a person is suffering from a deficiency of any particular kind of vitamin or any particular kind of iron or some minerals in the body, so if the nutrition is not properly given to a person, then that person may be suffering from some or the other deficiency diseases, and such diseases are nutritional deficiency diseases like beriberi, scurvy, goiter, etc. The next are metabolic diseases like diabetes, goiter, that is hypothyroidism. So this is the metabolic activity. It means you have got problems in the metabolism. That means generation of certain enzymes in your body is not taking place properly. The endocrine glands, or we can say the secretions, yeah, the secretions from the body are not proper, and because the secretions are not proper, that's why the hormones which are required are not prepared in the body and or prepared in excess in the body, and in such a case the person suffers from such metabolic diseases like diabetes, goiter, etc. Next is genetic disease like hemophilia and thalassemia. Some diseases are such that which are going to be going forward from the parent to the child, and then child to his child, and so on. So generation after generation they are getting this particular same disease, that will be called as a genetic disease. So yeah, that will be hemophilia and thalassemia are such diseases which are going to be transferred from the parents to the offsprings. Allergies, hay fever, asthma. Yeah, they are allergic to something, like somebody may be allergic to dust and also whatever, whenever he goes outside he feels the suffocation and he is not able to breathe properly when it is too dusty. So that is nothing but the allergic diseases. Degenerative, that is aging diseases like arthritis, cataract. These are the aging diseases when somebody means as soon as you go past a particular age. So as you age, your parts, the body parts will get wear and tear. So that wear and tear causes diseases like the one who cannot walk properly, the joints ka problem jo bhi hota hai, so that will be arthritis. So arthritis or cataract in the eye is the aging disease which is degenerating type. Physical and chemical causes: injury, heat, cold, radiation, poisoning, etc. So maybe you are you get cut somewhere, or you are getting burned somewhere, or you fell down and you injured yourself. So these are like physical injuries and causes which are of course non-infectious. Mental illness, depression, schizophrenia, that is nothing but the depression and mental illness. So basically the person is not mentally stable, so that will be again non-infectious disease. And finally cancer, like breast cancer, prostate cancer, leukemia, these are again the examples of non-infectious diseases. So cancer is an abnormal multiplication of cells. Their uncontrolled division may lead to tumor. Cancer are usually fatal. Early detection and treatment improve chances of survival. May cause Many causes are suggested for cancer include chemical tars from tobacco smoking, tobacco chewing, drugs, pollution, certain radiation, and even certain virus. An agent that causes cancer is called carcinogen. Okay, so cancer is basically abnormal growth of the cells. We know normally our cells are going to multiply so for our growth, but if that growth is not proper but it is abnormally growing, then there will be additional cells will be in the body which are harmful for the body. So such kind of harmful growth of the cells, additional cells in the body are called as tumors, and these are the nothing but cancer. So why the name cancer is because cancer has been given this name because it adheres to any part of the body which it seizes upon to an obstinate manner, like the well known crab cancer. So because the crab is holding the thing very properly, holding it properly, that's the way cancer also is the one which holds our body properly and doesn't leave it so easily. And that is why the treatment of cancer also is like radiation, where we are not only killing the cancerous cells but accordingly उसके साथ में जो पकड़ के रखा है ना जो अच्छे cells को उसको भी मारना पड़ता है unfortunately. So that is why they call it as cancer. Cancer occurs mostly or most commonly in those tissues in which cell division is a normal activity, like skin, liver, lining of the stomach, uterus, breast, etc. So wherever the cell division is a very common affair, where cell division keeps on happening over there, and such places the chances of getting cancer is higher. So that is about cancer. Of course, not in the part of the syllabus, it was just for your information. Now we come to the next part, that is communicable or infectious diseases, which is very much in the portion. The infectious disease is always due to some disease causing organism called pathogens. Pathos, diseases, and gen means producing. The pathogens include a wide variety of organisms. Following is a list of some common pathogens and the disease they produce. The syllabus includes only those which are printed in blue ones. So there we have got only those ones which are the ones which are over here. So we'll see only those ones. So yeah, so infectious diseases or contagious diseases, communicable diseases are those which has got some kind of a agent or a pathogen. Pathogen will be that particular germ or that particular secretion by a germ which is entering in our body and it is causing harm to our body. So when any particular that pathogen enters into the body, it causes the harm and causes the infection, and then this pathogens can move from one body to another body by means of some kind of a transmission media, and that's why they are called as contagious or the communicable or infectious diseases. And all these are, as I told you, that they are going to show symptoms in your body only after a certain period, and that period in which they are going to be effective or they are going to show their symptoms is called as incubation period. Incubation period. So we can say incubation period is a period between the entry of the germ and the appearance of the first symptoms of the disease. Okay, so entry of the germ और फर्स्ट सिम्टम्स के बीच में का जो टाइम है, that time in which you are even not aware that infection is present in your body is called as the incubation period. So that's why they are given the different incubation periods of different diseases. Pneumonia 1 to 3 days, diphtheria 2 to 5 days, cholera 2 to 6 days, tetanus 4 to 20 days. Then important will be whooping cough 10 to 15 days, chickenpox 14 to 21 days, leprosy for several years, HIV up to 12 or more years. So you can see HIV doesn't show you symptoms even till 12 years. right? So that is the important thing over here. So all infectious diseases have a certain incubation period. Incubation period from the shortest to the longest are given in the table. Now we see the disease caused by bacteria. So now we come to the third part, that was the kinds of pathogens. So when we talk about kind of pathogen, means which are the different kinds of pathogens which are going to give rise to the diseases. So first one is disease caused by bacteria. Type of bacteria, you have already read about the types of bacteria in the book. Now we have not done it, but yeah, we will do it later on. That is bacteria. We had taken this chapter because the school took it earlier, so that's why. So some of the disease caused by bacteria in the humans are cholera. So first one we see is cholera. The disease attacks the intestinal tract and is caused by a special bacterium called Vibrio cholerae. So Vibrio cholerae is a kind of bacteria which causes the cholera disease. Vibrio is a comma, in comma shaped viruses are called as, bacteria are called as Vibrio. So Vibrio bacteria, cholerae is the name of the pathogen which is going to be the bacteria which is going to cause cholera to a person. Incubation period is few hours to 6 days. The patient suffering from vomiting and loose motions. There is very little or no urination due to the shortage of water in the body. So it is seen that the body, as soon as this particular pathogen enters the body, within few hours or within 6 days, the person may get affected by cholera. So when the person gets affected by cholera, he will be suffering from loose motions, vomiting. Now because of the loose motions and vomiting, he will be getting dehydrated. The water content in the body will go on losing, so he will be getting dehydrated. So because he is getting dehydrated, he will not be able to urinate, because urination is nothing but excessive water being drained out along with the nitrogenous waste. Now if a person does not urinate for a long period of time, the nitrogenous waste which are present in the body becomes poison and they poison the body. So that's why urination is very, very important for our body. So here what happens is, there is very little or no urination because of shortage of water in the body, and urea accumulates in the body which is poisonous. The patient may die if not treated properly and promptly. The treatment includes saline water injection to supply water to the blood. So yeah, it's a simple thing. You are getting dehydrated, so you keep on hydrating your body. That means you are going to keep on taking the ORS solutions, that is oral the rehydration solutions, which are like Electral and all. You are going to keep on taking that, so that your urination should not stop. You should be, apart from the loose motions and the vomiting, there should be that your body needs to urinate, because only then your body nitrogenous waste will be excreted out and will not become poison in your body. The cholera germs is spread through food and water. The contamination results due to dust and by direct transport through flies. The flies sit on the excreta of the patient and mechanically carry the germs, which sticks to the spiny legs and body to the exposed food that is eaten up through the mouth oral. So that is why what is going to happen, it is going to, now a person who is infected by cholera, his feces, okay, his excreta, his feces will be having the pathogens of cholera in it. So if the person is open defecating, okay, वो अगर प्रॉपर शौचालय में नहीं गया है, ओपन डिफेकेट किया है, तो वहाँ पे दैट फीसेस के ऊपर जो ये फ्लाइज जो बैठेंगे, दैट फ्लाइज विल सिट ओवर देयर, कैरी द जर्म्स विद देम, and then they can sit on any food material or water or anywhere and could spread that thing through that food and water. That's why we say that cholera is food and waterborne disease, because it is transmitted from one person to another person through the media of food or water. So that's why it is taken up orally. We take that thing food and that food. So that's why we always say that we should not eat food from the outside which is not uncovered, okay, which is not covered properly. So uncovered food we should not take. Outside food लेना ही नहीं चाहिए. In fact वैसे सब क्यों बोलते हैं? Because of this particular reason that you don't know from where that fly could have been coming from. Prevention methods include good sanitation, killing flies, keeping the food and cut fruits properly covered to prevent the flies reaching them, boiling water while drinking, and eating well cooked food. Immunization by taking anti-cholera injection is very useful. So yes, you can go for the prevention method. Will be of course keeping everything clean. You're not eating the uncovered food. We are keeping the food covered. We are drinking the boiled water. Yeah, so that is the prevention method. Yes, you have anti-cholera injections which are vaccination which can last for around 3 to 4 years. So yes, you can take the cholera injections when you know that these next 2-3 years are very important for your life. Like you can always take this injection when you're in the 10th standard and when you're in the mid of the 10th standard. You can take the injection so that you are sure that 10th standard, 11th and 12th standard, which are very important for you, you don't want to get affected by cholera and such infections. You can take an injection during that period. Typhoid fever is the next one. It is major symptoms is continuous fever which usually arises in the afternoon. Reddish eruptions appear in the chest and abdomen. The causative germ, that is Salmonella typhi, is flagellated bacteria which attacks the intestine. So these are flagellated means they have got a tail-like structure. So that a flagellated bacteria is there, which is Salmonella typhi. Okay, Salmonella typhi. And they are going to be causing fever. So it will be fever which will be basically much more in the afternoon time, and there will be reddish eruption, that is boils on the chest and the abdomen, and they attack the intestine. So the patient passes out the germs in the excreta, and again the same thing, flies and contaminated food and particularly the milk spreads the disease. The incubation period is about 7 to 12 days. After recovery, in about 2 to 3 weeks, the patient is left very weak. Relapse is not uncommon. So typhoid में सबसे बड़ा problem ये है that if you are not going to take care, if you are okay, you got affected by typhoid, you got cured. After getting cured, if you don't take care of your food habits, then it may happen that after 2-3 weeks you are so weak that there is a possibility of you getting typhoid once again. So that's why relapse is not uncommon. Some people after recovery are carriers of the disease. They may still have the germs. That's chloromycetin is the very effective antibiotic in treating the disease. Prevention, anti-typhoid inoculation, that is vaccination of anti-typhoid, should be repeated every year. Proper sanitation and control of flies reduces the disease. So that is how you are going to be preventing typhoid. We now move on to tuberculosis. This is usually a disease of the lungs along with other parts including brain, kidney and bones may also be affected. It is caused by a small rod-like bacteria, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and spreads by the septum of the infected person. It's a spit. Okay, the bacteria, that is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, is going to be present in the spit, that is the saliva of that particular person, infected person. So that's the reason we always say that spitting around may cause tuberculosis, because you don't know if somebody is affected by tuberculosis and he spits somewhere, pan kha ke ya sab ke aise bhi thuk raha hai. So that is the bad thing. So it spreads by the septum of the infected person. The germs may be carried by air or dust. The incubation period is 2 to 10 weeks. In the body, the surrounding tissues form the kind of a wall of tubule around the germ. The germs are widespread and almost everyone receives them. Most people overcome minor infection. So yeah, almost everybody receives this particular tuberculosis germs, but they are mild in nature. That's why we are able to fight it out. So minor infection se wo chala jata hai. If the body resistance is low, the disease becomes severe. It requires treatment in its early stages. An antibiotic, streptomycin, is a very effective drug in curing tuberculosis. it inhibits the growth of bacterium. So that's streptomycin as a cure to it. And prevention is BCG vaccine. Now BCG vaccine is very compulsory for each and every person of India. At least in India में जैसे ही कोई बच्चा born होता है तो within a span of some few hours, maybe a day or so, the BCG vaccine is given to him. So it is very much because India is very prone to tuberculosis. That's why BCG vaccine given to them is very common. So BCG vaccination has been found useful in developing immunity to tuberculosis. March 24th is observed as an anti-tuberculosis day. Okay, so this was about the tuberculosis. There are certain things which are given over here which are not in the syllabus, about tetanus, that's syphilis, diphtheria, whooping cough, pneumonia, leprosy, gonorrhea, but you need not learn this thing because it's not in the syllabus at all. So what you can do is, for the easy understanding and easy learning, you can just learn from the table which is given over here on the right hand this side over here, about the tuberculosis, the cause, the incubation period, the mode of transmission, symptoms and prevention. Automatically it gives you everything, so learning becomes much easier by that particular table. Okay, we now move on to the disease caused by protozoa in the next video.